Okay, everyone, just to remind everyone, be recorded, and if you could turn your cell phones on to vibrate, that would be good. It being 7 o'clock, we're going to start. Vice Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First thing on the agenda is old and new business, which would be the approval of the minutes from April 12th, 2018.
I just have one question about, I see that we have everything here from that petition. I just don't remember this stuff. This wasn't handed out, was it?
Yeah.
I don't, did you?
Yes.
You do recall?
I remember reading this.
In
yes.
this thesis back here?
Case law?
That's right here?
Yeah.
Did he hand this out too?
I didn't get it. Because that was a question, because
I just don't remember it. I don't remember it being handed out. I don't remember this being handed out, or this, or the laws. And this was handed out, I do remember. I do remember that. I do have a copy of that, I have a copy of that. But I don't have a copy of this, and I don't have a copy of the thesis in the back.
I mean, I can take it off if you want, but
What do you guys think? Because I just don't recall. I'm just
Well,
trying to...
This is the problem when an applicant comes at the actual meeting with a whole lot of great
Right,
supporting
yeah.
documents, and we're supposed to read it all. So I think that should trigger an automatic continuance, that we cannot make a decision if we're expected to read all the documents.
But do you remember this here? Do you?
I actually don't, but I think I do remember him giving documents.
Well,
just at the
I
end.
do remember, like I said, I do remember this part. I don't remember the case law. I do not remember him handing out the case law.
I mean, in some respects, the case law is what it is. I mean, it doesn't change the case.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if we're gonna start doing that, I think we,
Setting a precedent.
you know, it just seems different, that's all I'm saying. I just
I
don't
wasn't
recall. Do you remember it?
I wasn't
Oh, you weren't
here,
here,
so-
that's right. John?
To you guys.
I did not get it.
Well, you know, that meeting was problematic because we also mentioned council's opinion, and we never gave the poor applicant a copy of that council's opinion, which we mentioned. But we do have it in our decision.
Right, we have it, it was given to us.
It's an open meeting law, so
I
anything
just don't
that's
remember this
said
stuff,
in this
Nancy.
room,
okay, see.
anything that's said in this room
I
is for
think
everybody
so,
to
guys,
see.
what do you think? I mean, do you think this stuff should be taken off this? Because,
Well, he gave it to Nancy right before the meeting was over. I mean, I don't know, you yourself are concealing this opinion from the legal counsel. You won't give it to the poor applicant, and you've got a problem with Nancy getting a document just at the end of the meeting. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
I
I
think
just
it's
don't...
all problematic.
But the only thing is, I didn't get to read them. I don't recall them.
That's what his
Should have
point is.
continued the
In the
meeting.
future,
So the last
we should
sheet-
continue it and/or bring it up at the next meeting, you know.
Because do you think that
And we've done that
do you
historically.
think he dropped some
And
down
that's a
there?
good point, because
Someone
before the
tries
end
to
of the
drop
meeting?
a
I can't quite
Well,
remember.
ton of docs on
the
it.
thing that we got last time, we should never have
I
had
just
that
don't
back,
remember this.
because it was not,
I
I
mean,
don't
you're
remember
right,
reading it.
Rich.
Like I said, I don't remember this. I do remember that, I do remember that. I remember that. But these, I don't recall. I don't recall all this.
I mean, you're right, Rich. Everything that is in our minutes should be stuff that we actually went over, so you're right. Or that the applicant and everybody in the room got a chance to have a look at it. So
Right, and I just
think
don't,
you're
I
right
just don't
there.
feel comfortable approving the minutes with stuff on that I don't recall seeing or reading. You know what I mean?
Right.
Does everyone else agree? I mean,
Well, but
No, I
he
can
gave
see
it
at
in. He
the
gave it to
same
the
time
secretary,
as-
right?
Yeah, as Mr. Bergen's saying, it was submitted as evidence. So, I mean, perhaps
then,
a motion could be made to approve the minutes and just accept the documents that, was that Attorney Riley who submitted those?
I think so.
so,
Submitted, you know, during it is, but
well,
that the
the
board
only
didn't
thing
have a
that I'm
chance to
going to
review.
add to that, then, we gotta be consistent, because we do not get this every week.
And then not only that, I mean, if it's used as evidence against us, I mean, we really didn't have a chance to read, especially the last page.
Right.
So I do not want to accept the last page because I do not recall that being there. And again, he might have dropped it off I vaguely remember him putting something down for you, but I just I don't recall this part in the back. And I just don't feel comfortable approving with all these things attached to it that I didn't get to look over.
And I don't remember him reading this.
No,
You know, it's not like he read this into the
He
record.
did not.
right. So I just don't feel comfortable, especially with this. I don't understand why that's there. And you know, this, like I said, I'll mark off the stuff that I agree with,
Do we
but
want to make a motion to table the minutes from April 12th until,
I think we
June?
should, well, I think we should actually go over them now and what we accept, and then in June, vote on it. Do you know what I'm saying? Because we have to know what we're talking about here, what we do accept and don't accept, so we can vote on it.
So mark it what you don't want.
So-
would we like to
Because I
do this
haven't
at the
got
end of
my
the
copy.
meeting?
Yes, we'll do that at the end of the meeting, so we'll bring it up at the end of the meeting, so we can do that.
I
Again,
know this is really good television right now, but maybe we could wait a little bit.
you are correct, sir, you are
Just
correct.
throwing it out there.
I got it, all right.
So I'd like to make a motion to table discussion of the approval of the minutes of April 12th, 2018 to the end of the meeting.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
All right. It being after 7 PM, we're going to hear the petition of Dana George, 1209 Bedford Street. The 33 petition of Dana George, 33 Stetson Street, Whitman, for special permits under 175-21G3 and 175-21G5 to convert existing building to small brewery at 1209 Bedford Street, property located on Assessors Map 64, Lot 79 in the HC zone.
Yes, come on up. You bring any samples?
Yeah.
I asked them that.
How you doing?
Good, how are you guys?
Good. All right, so why don't you tell us about your project?
I mean, essentially, we're looking to do what we do now, just in a bigger space, you know. Slightly bigger system, more room, bigger tap room, more parking, more traffic.
Yeah. So it's the back building, correct? It's not
Correct.
the restaurant itself.
It's directly behind the pottery
Right.
building.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the pottery, excuse me, the pottery, that's
How
right.
much do you think you'll be impacted with Route 3, 18 being,
Impacting in the sense of,
impacting with the traffic being stopped, going around, all that stuff?
well, I'm not really familiar, neither of us are familiar with we are familiar with the project, but as far as how that's gonna affect it, how wide
I'm
the
just
road's gonna be.
curious.
Yeah, I don't, it's a tough question to answer.
I think as we've talked about it before, I mean, right now, we're not a business that's open from 9 in the
Right.
morning
Right,
until
yeah.
7 o'clock at night, 7 days a week.
You
And we
staying with
have
those
very
hours too?
Specific hours that we're open.
Did you plan on keeping those same hours?
We're gonna have to go back to the board to
Okay.
talk about hours
Yeah.
at the new location, for sure.
Okay.
Hours would be increased.
And the question further along that was, I'm very familiar with that area, and
Yep.
it's- I'm not against the project at all. Parking would be my concern, because they're not specific. How many seats are you gonna have?
We're in the
Total.
very early stages of
Yeah.
the planning. To be honest with you, we have not signed a deal for this location yet. We are
Right.
here to see if there would be preliminary approval to use the building for this purpose, so that we could go forward and work with the landlord on a more detailed plan for the interior of the space. So, yeah, we didn't want to enter into an agreement without knowing that the building could be used for this purpose.
So to springboard on Mr. Shepherd's comment, you may end up coming back to us based upon number of tables, or however you do it,
Right.
is going to trigger a parking requirement.
Okay.
And that may also, you know, with the widening of 18, the existing footprint may be condensed.
Actually, not in their case, they're in the back.
Oh, they're further back.
Yeah, they're in the
Okay.
back, but some of it could be taken away from the front, you gotta remember that too.
Right, my
Right.
concern again is, there's no specifics here, and I don't know how many parking spaces you have that is assigned to that building, and I know Cream and all those are there. And, you know, in certain hours, I don't think that's an agreement you could make with them, whatever, if you don't have enough, but that is, we have to address that issue.
Sure. I don't believe the parking spots are designated for
They're
any
not,
one particular
no.
building there right
They
now.
seem to be like all in the back
But
here.
behind that building, there are
Yeah.
roughly 20 parking spots that are directly behind that building. And as you know, we have 4 right now, so that would be a welcome improvement for us over our
Anything,
current location.
And it was not good either. Good parking, the other.
And so basically, you're splitting the building in half, putting a brewery on one side and a testing area on the other.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So just for the record, what you're asking for is under section 175, 21G3, you're in a highway commercial zone, so you're asking for a special permit for the bottling of beverages, right? And 175, 21G5 is, again, in the highway commercial zone, you need a special permit. And the wording of G5 is for a place of manufacture, assembling of goods, provided that all resulting cinders, dust, flashing, fumes, gases, odors, refuse matter, smoke, and vapor be effectively confined to the premises or disposed of in a manner that does not create a nuisance or a hazard to safety or health.
Right.
Okay, so that's specifically what
Correct.
you're asking for,
Both permits that we had to
precisely.
receive approval for at our current location.
And, you know, personally, I think you've run, to date, an exemplary business
Yeah.
on Washington Street.
So what are we really, if they're talking about coming back, then we would,
Well, that would be up to Marshall, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
no, we would have to say to them now, pull it without prejudice.
No, if they want
Oh,
to come
we
back for an
need to just-
additional special permit for
Yeah,
park.
these
for
is
park.
just
Okay,
the
that
two
would be,
special
and that
permits.
could be in front of planning too, by the
Yeah,
way.
that's
Right.
got to, we just have to concentrate on these two special
Okay, so
permits.
we'll stick to this.
They've asked for
Yeah.
these,
Yeah.
and then as they sit with whether you end up going to planning, especially around hours, and at that point, you have a floor plan and everything, they may say you gotta run it by Marshall to make sure you need,
I did check with Marshall on that. His
1.5
concern
spaces.
might be on the building itself, the metal, but that's his responsibility with you guys. It has nothing to do with us. So that part,
right,
I'm assuming the Board of Health is going to issue some form of permit for this, or they're involved in that process.
It's
or-
an interesting comment. Our experience to this point is because we do not have food, they have no
They have no
jurisdiction over
involved.
what we do.
Just the selectmen?
Yeah.
Okay.
they're the one that
Yeah.
issued the permit to.
Correct.
We were
Same
curious
beers
about that
now,
ourselves,
sir.
and we made a point of checking in with them early
Yeah, they
on.
don't.
He said
They-
that.
outside
We
they
need
do.
to-
that's debatable.
Very nice. Anybody else? Are we good? Dennis?
Yeah, we're fine. There's 3
Okay,
things.
can we open it up?
Well,
Hold it,
there's
yes,
3
please.
things that
Oh,
we have to
sorry.
decide. We have to say, would it not be injurious to public general welfare with regard to the adjacent structures and uses? And thirdly, it would not overload any public water or drainage system or create undue traffic congestion. So that's why John was asking about your undue traffic congestion, because that's an issue with the special permit. What about drainage and water? Do you need more water? Is that an issue?
No, our understanding is, interestingly enough, when we first started looking for a location 4 years ago, there was a restriction on certain parts of town, as we understood it, in terms of how much water can go down the drain.
And sewer.
Exactly, the sewer. So our understanding now is that those restrictions have been lifted.
Yeah.
And that our business would not impact that in a negative way.
And actually, I have this right here, and it says it does not. Just
Excellent.
to cross that off. You're all set on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
See if anything else. Are we all set now?
Yep.
Okay, could I open up to the floor? Anybody have anything to add? No? Okay, let's bring it back to the board then.
I don't have a problem with this, it's pretty cut and dry in my mind.
And I agree.
In that case, I'll make a motion to approve the application, the petitions of Dana George, 33 Stetson Street, Whitman, for special permits under 175-21G3 and 175-21G5 to convert existing building to a small brewery at 1209 Bedford Street. The property is located on Assessor's Map 64, Lot 79 in the HC zone.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good luck, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
It being after 7:05 PM, Abington Zoning Board of Appeals will hear the petition of Michael and Michelle Nasason 4 McHugh Circle, Abington, for a special permit under 175-32I to legalize existing in-law apartment at 4 McHugh Circle, property located in Assessors Map 44, Lot 127A in the R30 zone.
Come on up.
Get your
you
15
doing?
minutes of fame.
Good, how are you?
Good. All right, so what do we have here?
We have a home that we purchased about 7 years ago that had an in-law in it. We purchased it, it was advertised, sold as, bought as, built as, and apparently we have to legalize it, which we thought was done when we purchased the property.
Right.
So we got notice that because the property changed hands, the new owners have to sign an agreement with the town stating that it's going to be used for family members only and so forth and so on, and not house 5 or 7 people in there illegally.
Right.
Right, yeah, and that's, I mean, that happens every time
I'm sure-
anything.
Well, you want to protect the
We didn't
neighborhood too.
realize we had to even do that, and
Yeah.
it just got a letter out of the blue
You're not alone.
Yes.
stating it. I was like, what are they talking about?
What size is this in-law apartment? Because that's critical.
The, I mean, it's all on the,
But
but it's above the garage, it's 28 by 26. Contains 1 bedroom, 1 bath.
28, so doing the math. Because you're allowed, there's a requirement not to exceed.
Yep,
And that's the question, that's why I was asking that.
right.
Someone doing the math for me.
I'll do some math for you. Well, my phone will do some math for you.
And
Actually,
again,
Nancy, did you get the file for this? Did we find the file for this in the building department?
728.
I had emailed you.
728.
It has to be under
We didn't
900.
bring it up.
Yep.
Yeah, it has to be under 900 or,
said you could go look at it.
50% of the
They didn't
existing.
Yes,
print it
50
out.
if the
No, they
building
didn't give
was,
it to me. I'm sorry.
much smaller than what it is,
Yeah,
then you would need it even smaller than that.
understood.
So
We
in
have
your case, you do
4,200 square
qualify.
feet, so it should be,
You qualify.
Okay.
Now, now what about the egress and egress?
there's 2 entrances and exits to the in-law, separate entrances. I
And,
sort of have a drawing here if you wanted to see it.
A large lot, huh?
Yeah, 3/4 of an acre or so.
yeah, 30,060, which is 30,
Yeah,
30.
So this is an existing,
right. The house was built, I think, in 2003, somewhere around there, 2005.
thought it went through all building codes and
Oh, yeah, it was, and we're the second owner of it.
It did, but all, like you were saying, the file, half of the original file is gone.
Oh, that happens
Just-
a lot around here.
It's just obliterated. We had to have the whole house
Inspected.
re-inspected for an
Oh, I
occupancy
see.
permit
Yeah.
and various other things when we bought it, because they were just gone.
Okay.
So it's been
And
a
Marshall had done a complete walkthrough at least once, and then we had the
assessor.
the assessor came down and did the same thing and walked the property line and all that, and
Now,
Okay.
So obviously, requesting an in-law apartment means you have to have basically relatives only
right,
living there.
exactly, right.
You have to file an affidavit once a year.
January usually.
Oh, is that right? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, we weren't aware of that, yeah.
Okay.
And it's like maybe 50
Again,
bucks.
if you're to get the permission, it ceases when you sell the house in the
Right,
next
right.
home.
Has to
And that's
transfer.
honestly something the Realtor should be
Well, that's,
performing.
exactly,
It's not-
I
exactly.
mean, have you
It's not
seen
the
one of these
seller's
forms
job.
before? You've seen one of these forms, right?
No.
Well, maybe you should have Marshall show it to
Now,
you.
will they automatically send those
I'm
out?
not sure, Nancy.
No.
Or is that something
Here's
you
something
need
you
to
have to do.
remember to do?
I do know what, they have not done it, it's a very, they have people now, because that was something I help them in spare time, and that is a serious problem in the past, but now they've got an extra person, so you should be getting notified every year on a yearly basis, so. But if you don't, you're putting yourself in jeopardy,
Right,
you know, that's all I'm saying, down the road type thing.
Yeah.
And definitely when you go to sell it,
right, you want it
banks will want
updated,
this
right.
information. Okay.
All right, we all set on the board? We're good? All right, can I open up to the floor? Any comments, concerns? Goes into the floor, bring it back to the board.
The only thing I would say, Marshall raised the possible condition of having them file a plan with the building department. Do we know if that exists?
He does require that. In fact, I did talk to him, and he said a condition, if anything, was more, his concern was the building department, the egress and ingress, because they didn't have, as you're talking, a file. So
Yeah.
that is
I
something.
mean,
We think there is
I'm not an architect, but I got a rough sketch of what it is, you
Well,
know.
we think there is did you say there was a plan on the file? Did you have a look at that?
Yeah, that's under Marshall's,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there was a plan.
There was a plan, so there is a plan on file, it's
He will
just,
not issue them a permit if they do not meet the qualifications.
Okay.
so we basically just have to either approve it or don't approve it, and if we do approve it, Marshall's gonna have to go through the process and
Right.
make sure everything's correct, paperwork.
Yeah, and Marshall, the building inspector, said the board could request
Yeah.
to verify the existing accessory apartment meets the 900 square foot or a max of 50% of the existing principal building. You have a
Which we're under.
drawing with you, correct, right now, sir?
Sorry?
You have a drawing
Yes,
with you
yes,
now with the dimensions,
Yes.
We have it on this.
all right?
See, that, here's the 20.
No, of the apartment,
Oh,
of the specific, and you said it was, what, 28 by
28 by 26.
28 by 26. So if you submit that as evidence,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, you don't have to be an architect to
Yeah,
know.
right. That it's under 900 square feet.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, that satisfies it to me, because it's not
Exactly.
particularly close
You're
to
absolutely
900
right.
square
Right.
feet.
you're absolutely right.
If we
We
were on
can't
the,
just take hearsay, we have to
I
have.
know, yeah.
Okay,
if we were on the,
good point.
you know, if your estimates had us at 875 feet or something like that, that'd be
Yeah.
like, well, maybe we need someone else to look at it.
Sure,
But I think
sure.
the building would have to be substantially built bigger to,
there's a bill, there's a plan on file now, right? I think there's a plan on
Was
file.
there a plan of it?
And the original owner had it permitted
right.
already.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it was legit back then.
Yeah, we,
If it was
Marshall's
built
not here
before,
tonight, so,
yeah.
we really can't,
But,
ask him those questions, so.
but he did point out, and has pointed out,
Yes.
we condition it, as you just mentioned.
Okay.
Would be.
Well, I don't think it would hurt it, so
Exactly.
it's not gonna hurt to do that.
Yeah, I mean,
Can we
I-
just wait for Dennis to come back?
Yeah, he's making a copy.
And as soon as any family member moves out, you lose that status,
Okay.
okay? So that the new person coming along, if you sell it, wonders why.
Right. Well, that's why we're here, because it.
Exactly.
the
Just for
transfer,
the
yeah.
record, this sewer department says there's no reflection on them.
You could have just kept it.
I'm sorry, we're just waiting for the other member to come back. I just,
No problem.
I'm stickler at that, and he's just. What's that?
This is the next one, yeah.
All right, here we go. Okay, I'll pass them down. You guys want? I'll take this one. Okay, so we'll put that with this, and we want to make a motion.
Yes, I mean, I guess I'm just trying to think. We accept that, we accept the plan as submitted. You know, I'll make a motion to accept to approve the petition. And do we just want to base it on assuming that the dimensions submitted are accurate?
Or
Yeah,
what about,
for
what was
review.
Marshall's condition?
Yeah.
I think
No, he just said, he didn't have one, he just said, a condition for the special permit could be added to provide the building commissioner with a plan of the principal building and the accessory apartment showing square footage and egresses.
Yeah.
This plan may well exist at the building department currently. So, I mean, we don't have a plan of the,
No, we know.
but, I mean, judge, looking at the pictures, it's a big structure.
It is,
You know,
definitely.
what's the principal structure, sir?
Square
25?
footage?
Yeah, 25.
4250.
2250.
42.
42. So we're not coming anywhere close to the 50%
Right, I agree.
on that.
No.
Or less, so
Right.
it'd have to be the less, so you're
Yeah.
more than covered.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't see a reason to do any particular conditions on this.
No.
Most of the houses in that area all have the in-laws in them.
Right.
You know, they got family members living there, parents and so forth.
Okay, well, you know, we have seen the picture and we got a general idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So,
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the petition of Michael and Michelle Masterson, thank you, for McHugh Circle, Abington, for special permit under 175-32I to legalize existing in-law apartment at 4 McHugh Circle, property located on Assessors Map 44, Lot 127A in the R30 zone.
you have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, well, good luck.
All right?
Thank you.
Being after 7:10 PM, Abington Zoning Board of Appeals will hear the petition of William Donovan, 39 Patricia Drive, Abington, for special permit under 175-26C to add a 12 by 28 bay to current two-car garage at 39 Patricia Drive, property located on Assessors Map 43, Lot 14 in the R40 zone.
Sir? How you doing?
Okay.
What do you got for us?
I was told everything was supplied in your dockets. I didn't have
Yeah.
to bring anything? Okay.
Yeah, but you can just explain your
Oh, sure.
project.
I've lived on this street for 32 years. Just moved to this house a year ago, June 2nd. And for the express purpose of my wife and I downsizing, I own a business in Holbrook that I am closing with 2 offices, of which I store an antique Corvette and a storage lift. And I'm petitioning to add on a bay to my current garage so I can bring my car home.
Okay. I did take a ride down that street, and the houses are very separated from each other. I did notice that. And very strange how it's, the house is on the lot. It's a different design, if I
It
will.
is. I did not put it
notice that
there.
I did notice that a lot of the houses do have large garages, very large garages.
They do. I was at a 2-car under garage. There was no way to add on at my older house.
So just for the record, I guess, so what 175-26C says is, and this is what he's looking to, I guess, appeal, is a 1-car garage or storage space for private motor vehicles attached or detached of not more than 875 square feet of floor area shall be considered as an accessory building or may provide for as many as 3 cars in a residential district and for dwellings in a commercial district subject to provisions of subsections A, B. Unless a special permit is otherwise granted by the ZBA, this subsection creates a limit of 1 garage or vehicular storage structure to be built upon the lot. So, according to Marshall, all right, do you have that?
It's right here.
The building inspector, which is, I guess, why you're in front of us, sir, says that the proposed additional garage exceeds the allowable square footage of 875 square feet by 229 square feet and becomes a 4th garage bay space. So the petitioner requires a special permit. So that's what you're asking, and that's what we're working towards.
Where do you get 229 from?
Yeah, he did the math on it, Marshall, I went and saw him.
Okay, it's wrong,
No,
Oh.
he's over by 229 by allowing this.
but he gets 875 max, right?
Right.
And the proposed, at least pursuant to the plans, the total proposed and existing garage area is 996, right?
No, it's actually higher than that, it's a little over 1,000, I don't have it in front
I
of
think
me.
it's 1,010
See.
Oh, okay.
that I
Yeah.
calculated.
So are these plans accurate? Where did you get the 996 from?
Well, that's from Marshall.
I did not put that there.
Am I reading that?
No, you got it, it's right there.
Okay.
It's garage area, 996.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know why I calculated it 1,010, they calculated 996. Maybe it's allow for the walls, thickness of the walls, I
I
don't
think
know.
that's exactly what he was doing.
Oh, really?
Because I was with him when he did the calculation,
Okay,
and the 229, and this is what he would enforce regardless of what we approve or not.
sure.
This takes into effect his calculations.
And
You're
probably,
right.
it doesn't matter, because I mean,
Exactly.
he needs a special permit either way, but.
Now, it's just going to be that one car,
In the storage lift.
okay? Because again, the question here is not more, not the word detrimental, but its character of the neighborhood and all that. So once you allow someone to do it, then all of a sudden you have everybody saying, if he can do it, we can do it.
I understand. It's a 1965 Corvette fuel injected with 32,000 original miles. It doesn't get driven much because it runs on racing fuel.
Yep.
And the gas costs $10 a gallon.
Yep.
It's basically a show car.
Yep.
It'll be stored on the lift the whole time. It hasn't been started in the last 5 months, actually, at my office either. I'm closing the office and I want to bring
You
my
need-
car home.
You need to protect it.
I mean, so what would this look like? I mean, how many bays are you putting in here?
One,
Just one bay?
just be a
So
three-car
it'd be
garage.
three?
Yep.
Okay. And, are we sure on this frontage here, the 3582? We sure on that?
I had it surveyed.
Positive? Okay, because he's cutting real close on the,
Requirement.
because I just was down there today, it looks like it's really close. I mean, I can see where you offsetted the garage itself.
Yeah, we back it up 5 feet,
Right.
which actually fits the character of the house, because the whole house is not totally
Yeah,
straight.
it is,
Yeah.
So
it
looks-
is definitely,
It'll look
Dog
good.
leg to the house.
Well,
Right.
that's the character of the neighborhood, and that's very important in when you're issuing a special permit, and, you know, fire and all this stuff, safety, but that is one of the bigger ones in this case. So that you don't change the neighborhood.
Understand.
it
Been
really-
there. I was the first one to move into that neighborhood. I understand the character of the neighborhood.
And back in 65? No, that's your bet.
well, it's like,
That was close.
like across the street, there isn't anything. It's like an open field back
I know.
down there, and it takes you a while to start hitting the houses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a very different looking house, that's for sure. What would the height be on it?
On the garage?
Yeah.
The inside bay will be 12 feet. The garage will be exact
So you're
height of the
keeping it-
current.
Okay.
Okay, so that I can raise the old car up.
All right, so you're asking
Just be
for one
cathedral
more bay.
ceilings, there's no living space going over it,
Right.
there's no storage space going over it, there's no stairs going in it.
Yeah,
There's
in the-
no
in the
water there.
sewer
There will be
department says
electricity
no-
for lights, but that's it.
The sewer department says this has no,
Well, I like that
any bearing on it.
you have a considerable amount of side yard on that, so it's not like you're asking us to put a garage upon someone's fence line,
Right.
you know,
No,
so-
there's plenty of setback, plenty of yard.
Yep.
Very nice house, by the way.
Do you want to
Thank you.
open this to the
It is a
floor?
very nice house.
Are we all set, guys?
No further
Any
questions
questions?
here?
Dennis?
Well, when we get back to talking about it, you're going to open to the...
I was gonna open to the
public,
floor,
right? And
yeah.
then when you get back, this is an appeal, and the building inspector says the petition requires a special permit for exceeding the square feet. This is a very large construction, and a special permit for a fourth bay. He thinks it's a fourth.
Third bay.
Third
I'm
No,
only
it
adding
says
one
fourth
bay.
bay here.
I know, I'm only adding one bay,
How
12 by
many-
28. And the
Eight.
reason the 28, not 12 by 24, is I want to store my lawn tractor, my spreader, my aerator, my snow blower.
But I get where he's coming from, the building inspector. He's thinking that big
Right.
door is going to be for two cars.
For
Now,
two cars, yeah.
and that's the concern now. Do you take that, if Bring this up.
I'm sorry, I don't
No,
understand.
if you
The
bring-
bay, the
if you
bay's
don't-
only 12, what I'm adding is only 12 feet wide.
And-
It's 12 foot, how long is
Standard
it?
garage,
How long is it?
28.
28. So you could actually fit two vehicles in there. Is that what you're trying to say?
No,
You
Is that
can?
what you're trying to say?
Well, no,
Wow.
it'd be very
Not really.
close.
No, okay.
No, I'm not saying that.
All right.
small cars.
I think that's what he was probably thinking, because from what you're saying here, you're only asking for one bay.
Correct.
So one vehicle, one bay.
So that's all he can use it as, is one bay,
Right.
if you approve
Yeah.
it.
Because it says here fourth.
Well,
Yeah.
because he does have other bays, right?
He has two other
Two.
ways. So that would
I have
make
a
three.
standard 24 by 24 garage.
Yep.
That's existing to the building of the house.
Right.
That has not been changed.
Yes, you see that.
Yep.
Okay. All right, let's open up the floor. Anybody here for this? No? Okay, let's close it to the floor then. Back to the table.
Well done. So, I mean, the way I see it, the wording that Marshall put aside, 12 feet is kind of normal width.
Yeah.
He's making a little deeper. I mean, obviously, you have a car like that, you need a little room so you can walk by it without scratching it and that kind of stuff.
And my wife's going to be parking next to it, so,
Need a little extra room.
yes.
Oh, yeah, that's
Just
recorded.
saying.
You gotta watch out. It's recorded.
Is she here?
No,
All right.
I mean,
I can
I know the wording Marshall
I
said,
can
but what
understand
I
that.
see is we're granting a third garage bay.
Yes.
Marshall worded it as fourth garage bay, and maybe he has a mathematical formula because that bay is a few feet deeper than the existing, you said yours were 24 by 24 and you're asking for 12 by 28. Maybe that automatically triggers, I don't know. I personally don't have a problem with the petitioner asking for a third garage bay, and even putting in that you can only add one garage door. I mean, you're not going to, but since the building inspector referenced a fourth bay,
Yeah.
if we just want to correct what he's referenced.
I mean, what does it actually say here?
There is no mention of a fourth.
Right,
It says currently two car,
and to
in
add,
addition 12, 20, 28. Yep.
right.
My existing, yep. It says nothing to say, it says four.
So we're covered from that standpoint.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you, go ahead.
So I'll make the motion.
Well, I just want to say a few more things. It's conforming to it's a conforming lot. Like we said before, it's not gonna, when I drive around,
The character.
it kind of the character goes with it, so. Anyone else want to add anything? No?
Well, you got two things you gotta act on.
Is that?
There's two things you gotta act on. Because he put in there the appeal of the building inspector along with the special permit. I don't know if it's in his petition, but
Well, isn't that
Just granting
basically
this
why
special
he's
permit,
here?
yeah.
Is
Yes,
that
right, exactly. That's only
he
one
went to
thing.
Marshall, and Marshall said, no, you can't do it, you have to talk to us.
Right.
Yeah, but that'd be the true of everybody. You follow me? We've seen it very rarely where they come in with the appeal.
But I think
checked off.
that's usually when it's a letter
I
by
just-
the building inspector requesting or,
Or we should just put some wording in here, because this becomes an official document, is all I'm saying, that this is not the appropriate use for it. It was wrongly checked off, or something to that nature, so that,
Okay.
that's all I'm saying, is that
Oh, it does say
it
appeal.
is a legal document.
Yeah. But it
We
doesn't
have
say
no-
anything here.
we have no decision by the building inspector in front
No,
of
we
us,
don't, no.
though, so. Would you like to withdraw your application for an appeal of a building inspector decision?
That's
Without
only-
prejudice, if there's some reason why you
No,
need
I
to?
don't understand.
Okay, what he's just saying, there's two parts you checked off. We just, a matter of formality, you withdraw that part of it, and we say yes, or, whatever, you agree. The next part, we go yes or no to the other one, the special permit for your garage. Does that make sense?
I thought I was only applying for a special permit for a garage. I applied for building permit first because I didn't know
Right.
Abington had a statute on the books that any garage over 875 feet required a special permit.
But see, on your permit, your application, you're the one that checked it off, that is, you checked off here.
To appeal
Oh, because I was told to do that because he had to turn down the building permit because it did not meet the special
Right.
permit.
Okay.
Okay, I get, that's what we're saying.
Whichever's easy for you guys.
Okay, now you get it, okay.
We just want to try to get this right. We don't
Yeah.
want to get it wrong, so.
I don't either.
all
It's a
right.
minor semantic.
Gentlemen, if you
Yeah.
read the actual law, it says that people are allowed, with a house, they're allowed one garage, and it should not be more than 875 square feet of the floor area, and you can put up to 3 cars in that residence. So that's why the building inspector said he actually
Right.
probably needs 2 permits. One is that he's going over the size of 875 feet, would that be right?
That's it.
Yeah. And then the second thing is that he's asking for more than one garage, because normally you're only allowed one garage.
Well, that's what his application is one additional garage, which would then exceed in the same thing, an additional 229 beyond. I get that.
So what, so what the
But it's
building
not a
inspector...
second garage, it's not a second independent structure, it's just an addition to the existing garage, correct?
it's-
Yeah.
Yeah, one garage.
And on the left-hand wall,
Yep,
enlarging it,
you're
it'll
just
all be
extending
one.
down.
Right, it'll be one.
roof
three
line will
bed.
line up everything. I want the look of the house from the street to be identical. I do not want to change it.
So if he tried to put in a second detached garage out back or something
Right.
like that, would that be where that
That'd be a
provision
second building which would require
would, additional
a
permit?
variance, by the
Well,
way.
it says here attached or detached.
Yeah. Well, this, I'm agreeing with you. I
Right.
just think that that's all the same application.
Right. But, so the issue is whether the poor gentleman needs
two
2
attached garage.
permits or one.
One.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that's all.
Okay.
And then you overcome whatever the 3 issues about whether you overcome it came the issue with the permit.
So
Happy with that.
perhaps if I word the motion that the petitioner, William Donovan, 39 Patricia Drive, Abington, under appeal of the building inspector's
There you go.
decision to allow special permit under 175-26C to add a 12 by 28 bay to the current 2-car garage at 39 Patricia Drive, property located on Assessors Map 43, Lot 14, R40 zone, be approved.
That's it?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
I'm in favor.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Good luck.
Thanks.
Yep.
It took longer to convince my wife to let me do this.
You're already in trouble if she watches this, so you're in trouble.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, so let's give it 1 second here, get our stuff together.
Oh, look, another garage one.
I know, isn't that funny?
Wait a minute, you ready
It's
for this?
actually not that funny. This one's not funny, is it?
No, this gentleman was here before with a Ford Mustang, right?
Yes, we were.
What?
Yes.
I remember that, and you have a special Ford. See? I knew right away.
You were in
just
front of
looking
us before?
I
Back
thought,
in December.
I thought you looked familiar.
Okay,
Repeat
so,
offenders, huh?
yeah,
All
you
right.
ain't kidding. There we
Abington
go.
zoning appeal will hear the petition of Robert W. Lennox Jr. and Christine M. Lennox, 45 Robbins Ave, Abington, for special permit under Chapter 175-26 for a finding under Chapter 40A, Section 6, to allow garage over 875 square feet at 45 Robbins Avenue, property located on Assessors Map 3, Lot 39, in the R30 zone.
Boy, you guys like the garages, huh?
Yeah.
All right, so let's just do this, talk to the treasurer, town treasurer, talk to them,
Oh,
right?
Well, what
This
I
is
did-
Robbins, right?
it's Robert, I,
Okay, there's no need for me to say any more than that.
So what happened? Why, is this?
Well, there's no effect on the storage unless you,
I wasn't thinking, and I built a garage without a permit.
oh, it's just,
To be honest with you, I usually work with GCs a lot and permits are pulled, but this time I was in a hurry and I built it in. Here's where I'm at.
You were here in December.
That was for a new house that I'm building right now
On Veterans Way.
on Veterans Way.
that's the 4,
Yes, the Shelby.
So we had to get the,
Special permit for
for
that
a
one.
bigger garage.
oh boy.
And we allowed it, and it was.
And we did allow it.
Shelby.
Yes,
Right.
Yes.
correct.
So when did this one go up, sir?
Excuse me?
When did this construction happen?
It's been about a year and a half now it's been completed.
And you got found out?
When did you get?
No, I came to, the building marshal about it. And he directed me what to do. I got the as-built, and then he,
This is not the way we do it, though.
I know, well, he told me what to do about coming here and everything. He directed me.
So do we have anything showing the setbacks on this? Is that on this?
Yes, right here.
So the building, the structure is in compliance with the setback?
Well, I mean, we have a side setback is 1881.
And he needs 20.
Yeah, exactly, into Charles Street, which is a paper street. That's the major thing right there, but
That was built 20 years ago,
what's that?
this first existing garage.
First existing garage?
Yeah, the existing garage was put on 20 years ago, where it's 18.8.
Well, what did you put the
just went
back
back?
garage in? Is that what we're talking about?
Back garage, yes, which is
Oh.
18 by 22.
Okay,
Where is the back garage, sir, on this?
right here, right there, see the arrow?
Okay,
And it's right there. So he's got 2023.
okay.
So that's grandfathered in, if you would say so.
Yes.
The 1881? Unless
Wow.
Charles Street being a
Paper street.
paper street, unless that is considered frontage.
Well, in a paper street, there are all three, the two sides and the front are all front. The rear is a setback. And that we learned through town council regarding,
Right.
that one on.
And that exists with paper streets as well.
Exactly. So they have use of it halfway across of it, as long as they maintain it then. So that counts towards the setback.
So what's the,
Oh, so but if his lot line goes, I remember them
Yeah.
saying that, John.
And the fact that it's a
But
finding.
you're saying he has more space than indicated on the,
Yes.
That's what she was saying, right, Mel?
Yes, she gets it, but the finding is, this would be, she said in that particular case, the finding, it's a finding and not a special permit, but you can do both, and that becomes front. So that's the requirement there. So,
We have the surveyor here, right, John? Did you do this?
Yes.
Yeah, so the surveyor's here if you want to ask him any questions.
is it your understanding that, John, Mr. Carter, about frontage? Side setbacks?
A paper street under the Abington zoning bylaw doesn't meet the definition of a street because
Exactly.
it's not built upon. So
It's a state law too.
So the setback is a side setback. And they have a fee to the center line for
Exactly.
use on the paper street.
Okay.
And it goes in the
The
calculation.
fact that the existing garage was there and it's been there for more than 10 years, so it's grandfathered as far as the site, as far as where the 1881 is concerned.
Yeah,
that
that-
is
exactly.
grandfathered in, so
Right.
the portion that he's talking about conforms to setback requirements.
Okay.
right.
Yep.
I just wanted
Hey, John.
to hash that out because we get
Wrapped around that.
wrapped around front and side facing sometimes. I mean, so what we're addressing is chapter 48, section 6, right? And 175-26. I don't see a chapter on that. Which is basically just to allow a garage that's already gone up. I think in my mind, when he built it, he was mindful of the setbacks and built it with that, so it didn't create a nonconformity or anything like that.
No.
Being at the back of the house, it doesn't create a visual.
No, looking at it right here,
Deterrence.
no. When you look right at that, then
I
you can
totally
already see
fucking
it, so.
All right.
But, that's not the way you're supposed to build. We all
I
know
know.
this. And then you still got a long way to go if this does.
With Marshall.
Yeah. Anybody else? Go on. Anybody? All right, anyone in the audience?
Just so I understand though, there is one more question.
Go ahead.
You got the other place and you got this place.
Yep.
So,
The other, we're gonna be selling this place. Now, our
well,
existing,
now that's why you're gonna make it legitimate now.
correct. Or if it was to be,
Legalized.
if it was to be rented to somebody also, I'd have to have it permitted in case.
Yeah, I get it.
So that's another issue.
The bank would and all that.
Right.
I get that.
Yeah.
I was just wondering where the car's gonna go.
It's going up to
Go, it's going
Veterans
Veterans
Way.
Way.
Now I get it.
You can come by and take a ride in it if you want.
No, none of that now. You re-recorded, delete that from the tape, okay? All right, so, the floor, anybody?
On the point, I'm gonna direct your mother here, and I've owned my property for 30 years, and the kid works hard, he's a construction guy, and I can see how it happened, but he did conform with the setbacks, you know.
All right, thank you, Quinn.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, we'll close it to the floor and bring it back to the board. Again, this is not the way we do things.
I know, I apologize.
Yeah, you apologize, you got caught. Yeah, you got caught.
Well, it says-
You're sorry you got caught, right?
No, you didn't get caught. You want
I
to sell
didn't
the
get caught, I
house.
went to Marshall and I told him I have a problem, this is what I
All
did,
right,
I need
okay.
to
All right.
get it straightened away. And he directed me on what to do here as far as the.
We'll leave it at that then.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
So I'd like to make a motion on the petitioner Robert W. Lennox Jr. and Christine M. Lennox, 45 Robbins Ave, Abington, special permit under 17526 to allow garage over 875 square feet at 45 Robbins Ave. Property located on Assessors Map 3, Lot 39, the R30 zone be approved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good luck with everything.
Thank
Thank
you, I
you.
appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you.
What's going on here, guys? We're moving right along.
Abington Zoning Board of Appeal will hear the petition of Glenn R. LaPointe Family Trust and Diane C. LaPointe Family Trust at 245 Central Street, Abington, for special permit under 17521A to allow multifamily use and variance under 17514 to allow more than one principal building at 0 Brockton Ave, property located on Assessors Map 3, lots 4752 in the Highway Commercial Zone.
Okay, so, no bearing on the storage. I'd just like to say, Glenn has done work for me before, but this has nothing to do with today's vote or anything like that. Just putting it out there for, I know Lisa used to do it all the time, so.
You gotta do it.
And I am recusing myself.
Because Glenn's a busy man and he's chased him out of the room. He's excused himself because Glenn's making, at his condo unit, Glenn's possibly doing work there, so he's excusing himself.
Hello, sir.
Good evening. My name's John Cotter. I work with the Russell Wheatley Company here in Abington. I'm here with Mr. Glenn LaPointe and Mr. Glenn LaPointe. And regarding a project that they would like to see go forward on the north side of Brockton Avenue. It being a condominium complex of 11 residential units with appropriate parking. The property, as you can see, it abuts two paper streets, Helene Avenue and Charles Street, one on the east-west and one on the northern side. We have an area of wetlands that runs within Helene Street and also on the west side, and also on the east side is another area of bordering vegetated wetlands. The property itself, as you can see, is skewed to the, skewed to Brockton Avenue, as you can see, at a fairly acute angle, as well as being a long and narrow piece of property. It being said, the construction of the buildings would be such that we would have one facing Brockton Avenue. It's been heard that the construction of the buildings that are running sideways to the street is kind of an undesirable look for the appearance of the property. So what we've decided to do is actually turn it and face the front building towards the street, and then have the second and third buildings run parallel with the property lines and along the back of the property. As you can see, if you look at the surrounding areas in this on this site, you'll see that it is in the highway commercial zone. We are asking for a special permit to construct in the highway commercial zone. What I've done is taken a copy of the assessor's plan, just to show you what it looks like out there. And as you can see, our lot itself is highlighted in red. The commercial properties are highlighted in blue, and the residential properties are highlighted in yellow. You can see by the look of it that the majority from Mill Street all the way to the Abington Rockland line are primarily all residential, with the exception of.
How many are condos, though?
I'll get into that.
Okay.
They are, there are two properties that are along that area that have condominiums. One almost directly across the street from our project, which is 3 buildings and a total of 12 units. And there is another one that is down on Davis Street that has, I believe, a total of 7 units. 7 units. So, as I said, in keeping with the character of the neighborhood, I think that what you're looking at is a nice use of the property. I think residential use in this particular case is in order, mostly because of the majority of the residential that is already in this area, and really commercial would really be out of place in this area. And well, I think that's all I have to say about it. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to take any questions from you.
It seems very tight in here. You got 11 units. It's just a very strange looking, to me at least, a very strange looking format, if you will.
Well, I mean, there isn't a whole lot you can do because of the shape of the lot.
I mean, it's a conforming lot, though. It's not a non-conforming lot.
It's a conforming lot. Yes, it is. It's got frontage. It's got frontage. It's got lot width, and it's got area for the appropriate zone.
I sat down with the fire department yesterday, and the deputy chief and the chief, he had the same concerns. And so we laid it out so that the ambulance could go in, and I had to go back to Mr. Wheatley, and they made a section in the middle so that it could back in. It's like 14 feet wide now. And he said that it's similar to Thayer Street, and they don't have a problem with that, which is right over here by Lowe's. And at first he did, until we moved things around, and then they were both receptive to it. They said they were going to send a letter in.
I just feel like it's very congested.
Well, the other way was one building, just one long building, you know, and connect it all together, you know? And by doing it this way, it's more attractive to the neighbors. I went around to the neighbors on the weekend, and I talked to a bunch of them, and they were receptive to this. They said it's similar to what's right across the street, and basically it's almost the same. They have a little more land than I do, though, across the street. They have one area out in the front that's open, but I asked the fire chief about that too, and he said he didn't have a problem with that, so it's much similar to that.
How many bedrooms are these gonna be?
These would be 2-bedroom. They'd be similar to what we've done on Clark Street and Suffolk Street. They seem to be a good fit. They have a finished basement, and there's really no kids for some reason. It's just, you know, professional people, and they're owner occupied, so they keep it up, you know. And as I said before, we've owned the land for 30-some odd years. One of the neighbors had some concern about the drainage, and John was working on the drainage. Under the parking lot will be excavated, and we have to put in these Cultec filters underneath there, and then the water goes in. Am I correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Yep. Yeah, an underground detention basin.
That'll be designed with,
And there's no coverage issues because it's highway commercial? Like in terms of impermeable surface?
I don't believe so, but that'll also be covered when we go to site plan approval.
we have to go to the
Yeah,
plan.
because we'd rule on we rule on residential, but this is kind of considered a commercial property
Right.
because of the number.
Right.
So that wouldn't be before us one way or the other.
I mean, this is a commercial property turning into residential, correct?
Right, well, I think it's because the size of the unit, if there were coverage issues, then planning would rule on that.
Right.
But there are some zones that don't have any restrictions on lot coverage.
Right, the CBD districts and around the T stations, and yes, you're right.
Right.
You're correct.
So when
But
we
once
look,
it goes beyond 3 family, then we really don't have
so,
a say on that.
so when we look at this, where is the hardship?
Beg your
We're
pardon?
asking Hardship?
The hardships? The topography of the way the property sits, and then on the left-hand side is like a 20-foot drop on that side there. So we're gonna have to put in some retaining walls on both sides, and Mr. Jesberg was concerned about, he owns the property to the right, and he had some questions about the drainage, and we told him that we'd make sure that nothing goes on that side over there. And if he wanted a buffer, we'd put the fences up or shrubs, whatever they want. And as I said, I did go around and knock on doors, and you know, the people were very receptive to this instead of a business there. And then I sat down with the tax collector, and I asked him what the revenue would be for the town. And he said if the units are built, he said there'd probably be $60,000 to $66,000 a year for the town, where if it was just a business, it may be between 15 and 20, you know. So it doesn't take too long to help pay that school off.
It just looks very familiar to a project that we just turned down. I mean,
Which one was that?
recently.
Oh, the one on,
If I may, Mr. Chairman, every petition that comes here, you have to look at.
I realize that, I do, I realize that, but it just, to me, when I look at this, I try to figure out the hardship and the design of you're taking this piece of property and you're putting as much buildings as you can in, and it's awfully tight. I mean, I'm surprised that the fire department would accept this.
Well,
The access
I
to
knew
the
you'd
back.
have, I knew you'd have concerns with that. That's why I went around and asked, you know. So,
But I think to the chair's point, I mean, in application itself, you say that, I mean, you concede that you could construct this as one building and not require a variance. It's
Yes.
just for
Right.
aesthetic and construction purposes,
Right.
which sort of goes to
Yeah.
where is the hardship? I mean, it's possible
I'll
based
show you.
upon the topography.
This is what we could do, and we chose not to. Same amount of units, 11 units, right straight across. The maintenance shed here for the use of the, for your sprinkler systems and mechanicals and whatnot. So we could do this with just a special permit for the residential. We looked at this, we did it, we looked at it, and that's when we had heard through, most of it through the grapevine, that the planning board especially didn't really want to see buildings of this nature where what's facing the street is going to be a blank wall, and a maintenance shed, which is what would happen in this case. I mean, you can move the maintenance shed in the back, but it's still the same deal. You'd still have the side of a building rather than have something more attractive facing the building. So what we did is we came back to the drawing board. Oh, here we go. And all right. I knew it. We went back to the drawing board and came up with this plan for.
So basically what you're telling me is you're creating your own hardship by switching.
Well, the hardship is that, like I said, in order to develop the property, it's not a cut and dry piece of property where you've got nice perpendicular lines to the property, to the street lines. It's skewed over, so you're not able to utilize the property the way you would a simple rectangle or square building. You've got a parallelogram here, which creates issues.
I suppose if we're talking about variance and we're talking about circumstances to do with the topography, one of the other things in the law is circumstances to do with the shape of the building. And in this new plan that you have, where you've broken it up, I mean, the thing about the point buildings all over the town is that they're tasteful, they're small. We just had 2 meetings in which people came to us with, to be honest, McMansions. Huge buildings that, look out of place, but apparently are in that area. But all around Abington, you have the La Pointe buildings, which are often 2 or 3 buildings joined together, but small and tasteful. And we could have a McMansion condominium apartment block, right, or whatever, or you're really breaking it up like you usually do to smaller buildings.
Yeah.
Would that be
the,
right?
the reason for this is that, we like to do it right, and our reputation's there. And this plan here is much more attractive, as you drive by. I mean, our name's on it, and, we're gonna do it right. We're good to the neighbors. We ask the neighbors up front what they'd like. I work with them, and we basically do what they want also, so I don't want to slap something like that in, and I don't want to put a business in there, because of the neighbors, I could slap something in there and go, but we live here, and we want to do it right, and our reputation's there, so I'm hoping the board will look favorable on it,
So I think you really speak to the real issue is maybe not the variance, which we've always been taught is the harder thing, but you can see in the shape of the building, there might be a hardship here in the shape. But it's the very first thing you ask for is a permit. And the chairman was referring to one of our meetings where we actually turned down really a project exactly like this. But where it does change is that was on Bedford Street, right? Which is a commercial area. And
It's a commercial area too.
that's right, this is
This
commercial
is a
area.
highway commercial area too?
Exactly the
Same
same
exact
zone.
thing.
Exactly the same zone. The difference here, though, is this is why John gave us this map. That from his map, anyway, there's only 2 commercial areas or commercial businesses, but the rest are all residential.
that whole block.
In fact, the zoning board and the planning board have already allowed condominiums in. So,
Correct.
so
And 2 instances.
So it is the same, Mr. Chairman, you're right, of course, it is the same zone, but it's on a different road, different circumstances. So I don't,
I think to Mr. Bergen's point, the previous petition was putting a residential zone in the middle of an actual established commercial area where you had car dealerships and liquor stores
Lowe's, Troopies.
and that sort of thing around it. Where in this case, the petitioner is asking for a residential structures in a commercial zone, but it's abutted by residential. I generally don't like, I mean, I have voted against lots with multiple buildings on them, but I much prefer this where there's a chance of a little bit of green space and a little
Yes.
bit of landscaping versus, I think, the more institutional look of
Exactly right.
something. 'Cause this is, what, about, just about an acre block, correct?
Yes. And in that turn, I feel that you're putting way too much on here. That's the way I look at it. It's congested. It is awkward when you look at it. No matter what the planning board has got planned for town meeting, I mean, you have the backside of a house facing the road. I mean, that's kind of strange in my eyes.
The backside of the house, it's not,
Right here, here's the road, right?
this is the front side.
This is the road, right?
Yeah, we've turned the building so that it's facing,
The first building
the
is
first
gonna be
building,
facing the
that's why we
street.
turned it that way. So what you're looking at is the front of the building.
Oh, I'm sorry, I see that now. Yeah, that's right.
Will there be garages on these?
No garages. That's why instead of the long building, we broke it up, we turned it, so when you ride by, you're gonna see three, and that's probably all you're gonna see.
I still think it's congested. I think it's a lot of housing for one area.
That's why.
That's my opinion.
That's your, yeah. As I say, we did sit down with the fire department, we sat down with the water department and the sewer department, and they seem to be, the best development for this area right here because of that one block, that's nothing there, but,
And that's also something you're talking about, that's also gonna be something that has to be addressed at the planning board stage. They will address the density of the property.
Yeah, I mean, the densities, it's gotta be really tight. I mean, you gotta be really squeezing it out here for density for this area. Anybody else have anything else? I mean, I personally feel like you're creating your own variance, and to me, that's not a hardship. That's how I'm looking at it. Anyone else before I put it out to the floor? Anything? Put it out to the floor, anybody? Go ahead, sir.
Jim Benson, I 15 Willow Street, I live in the corner of Willow and Rocky Ave. And I'm very much in favor of this. I would hate to see commercial go in there. Because when you mix commercial, this is the front of my house, and this is the commercial. That's my backyard,
Oh, yeah, that's it.
and that's what, that would happen to three or four of my neighbors up there.
Yeah.
See it. Beautiful trees.
And I want it off in my neighborhood, and everybody in the neighborhood is in favor of it. Because they think it's good.
Do you want to read that, or do you want me to read that further? Just to read this into the record, sir. Dear zoning board, we're the neighbors of the proposed location for the new condos to be constructed by Glen LaPointe. We wish to express our 100% support for this project. We wish to submit this letter to you for your May 10th meeting. We understand that your board must approve the request to build residential homes on this lot instead of a business. We feel that a business in this location would not be a good fit and could hurt our property values. The land is already surrounded by other homes. We hope that you will approve the condo project. As much we'd rather have new condos constructed in this location and not a commercial building. Signed by the neighbors, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
7, 8, 9.
There's 9 signatures from, looks like all on Wilbur Street in Abington. And they're all different addresses, it's not all the same. So we'll enter that into the record. Thank you, sir.
Anybody else?
We are butters.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
We are butters to Glenn LeBoy here.
I've been in a butter for 20 years to Glenn, and
He's been a longtime friend for my dad's, and
Oh, yeah.
the fact that there's not gonna be a commercial building put up there is a huge bonus.
we do
because
not want a commercial building. We would much rather see what he's trying to do now.
We just step back and think of that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right, back to the table.
So, if I may, Mr. Chairman, the petitioner is asking for two things. The first thing he's asking for is a special permit under 175-21A. And that's simply to allow multifamily use go in. So that's basically to put a multifamily structure in a highway commercial zone. Where I guess, the contention is in this case, is the second thing he's asking for is a variance under 175-14, and that is to allow more than one principal building. Stop me if I'm wrong, but your main contention is you feel the lot's a little congested.
Yes, and
Or congested, I won't even say a little. Say the
and
lot is
also,
congested.
they're creating their own variance.
I agree, and that's why I want to speak to that, because basically, I think that the threshold is higher for a variance, but what Mr. Lapointe is saying is they're seeking a variance to break up the 11 units. They could come back theoretically, or they could withdraw this and come in with one industrial building and then only seek relief under a special permit 175-21A. As I've spoken, I don't usually like a lot of more than one principal building. I think the odd shape, the parallelogram, as Mr. Cotter said, I think you'd rather see 9 units or 6 units or something
I
like
actually
that,
think
or 3 units.
It's just my opinion that.
Right.
I think it's being overloaded.
Absolutely. But the variance is really that they're breaking it up to make it, I guess, have some curb appeal.
Right.
I mean,
We
so
wanna
in
build a
that
nice
case,
building.
I'm in favor of this particular petition. But I'm only one of 3 required votes.
It's like I said, I feel like the variance is being created, so I don't think I'd vote for the variance.
But,
The
and they've
residential-
admitted, yeah.
the
I know.
residential,
I get it. But they've
possibly, but-
admitted that they're creating the variance to not have a large
I do understand
institutional
that.
building.
But again, I feel that it's being
If I may, what you're saying is we're creating a variance. Yes, we are. We're asking for more than one building on a lot. To get more than one building on a lot, we have to ask for a variance. We're not creating the variance. The variance is not there for the taking, but that's the way we have to go by this. In other words, we have what I feel is a legitimate hardship. The lot is long and narrow. It can support a certain amount of living space. Because of the configuration of the property, this is what we came up with. This was our best scenario of
I
what we could
understand that.
come
I
up with.
understand what you're trying to
I
do.
mean, we could actually, Mr. Chairman, if we wanted to, we could, and I just throwing this out because we could withdraw the variance and literally connect the buildings with maintenance areas, maintenance sheds where we're gonna house our sprinkler systems, and we're going to, and use them for maintenance purposes, for equipment and everything. And we could create that with one building if we wanted to. But we choose not to because it's not aesthetically pleasing. And it's not in going with the nature of the condominiums that are already in that area. I mean, you've got a condominium complex across the street. There are 3 buildings there with 12 total units. You have another one down the street that have 7 units that are
That's fine. That they were
semi-broken up.
built- to
So
build-
we're just trying to
Right.
go we're trying to go with the nature of the
Right,
property.
but those were built many years ago. My opinion
It
is.
still
that-
has to, they were built many years ago, but they still had to go through the same process. It didn't-
Okay,
the
that was a
process
different
didn't
board, that was a
change.
different time, yes.
Absolutely,
Right,
but we
exactly.
still had to go through the same process.
That's correct. Different people, different times, yes. I personally feel that it's being overloaded. I will not give the variance for that.
Let me ask you this, if I may. Instead of building one long building, all right, what if we build these like this, just like that, and then the foundations connect? Then it would be one building, and I wouldn't be asking for...
Well, I understand, Glenn. You
wouldn't be
can- you can
asking for a
do- You can
variance.
do what you want on that end, but I'm not gonna give a variance for that right there.
Well, what I'm saying is then I wouldn't need...
I know, I understand.
Is that all right?
I do understand that.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that way I wouldn't be needing the variance.
You, maybe, you either, withdraw or request a can you request a continuance to next month and
I
come up
can,
with some
sure.
amended plans?
Yeah, sure.
And the board may be changed by then too, so, just to let you know.
Is it that time of year
It's that time of
again?
year again, yeah,
Oh, joy.
yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
that's fine. I
my
want to make
feeling
sure
is
it's done
if it's
right.
leaning towards a no, I'd suggest an escape clause before the no hits, and then that really ties you up for
Right,
a little bit.
that's fine.
So,
Nothing against you guys, really.
No.
I
Is there any
appreciate you
other-
guys.
any other
You guys are great
recommendations?
guys. I have no issues. I just haven't,
may I ask, Mr. Chairman, is there a number of units you see in your head where that doesn't become, where something like, is it?
well, it's not up to me. I'm looking at the property and it's,
So you're saying, no,
I
that's
shouldn't be
fine.
giving you any number
So
at
you're
all.
saying the way it is now, it's most likely a no for you if it comes up. to
I
the
just
board.
feel that it's over congested.
I get that.
And
But then your issue would be more with the special permit for the multi-use than with the variance. Correct?
multi-use,
Oh, I'm sorry, the multifamily use.
Instead of the highway commercial, the residential use.
well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the variance, to me, you're creating your own issue in this. You're doing this to yourself. I just don't think it's worthy of a variance. And I feel like it's being overloaded. And again, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I
No, I
mean,
respect that.
Might not even be on the board next month, for God's sakes. I don't know.
And come up with
So-
something different. No, that's fine. I mean, I'm not gonna,
I'm just trying to be honest. I'm
That's
not gonna,
fine.
I'm not gonna.
I respect that.
You know, just being honest, so.
So we'll go back to the drawing board and,
So would you guys like to,
I'd like to withdraw without prejudice and,
okay,
Just continue.
we'll continue.
Continue?
which
Or
is,
withdraw?
Until next month.
continuance,
I would
we
say-
can see you in a month,
I would say
withdraw,
continue.
you're starting all over.
Yeah, in other words, you start all over with the design.
Yeah, so let's continue it.
Continue?
Yeah,
Yeah, guys?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
and we'll see if we
Thank
can.
you. All
So-
right, let's,
We, I guess, do we do a motion to allow the continuance? Because this
Oh, wait a
also
minute.
starts the clock running, so we need to be,
are you withdrawing or
No,
continuing?
we're continuing the
Continue.
hearing.
Are you coming back with a different,
Well, they can sign a agreement to suspend, correct?
because this hasn't gone in front of the planning board yet, right? This is nothing to do with it.
No.
No.
All right, so they can come back to us with a different,
right,
okay.
right, because, I mean, the next one, stop me if I'm wrong, but if the next one may or may not need a variance,
Right,
and it won't matter, because you can always ask for more,
not,
but you
You
can
already
always
asked
ask
for
for,
less,
you can
not
always
more.
show up and ask for less
not more.
but not more.
Okay.
So if the
Right.
the next plan may need a variance, it may not,
Right.
and that's fine, and we can
Correct.
say, no, you don't need a variance, you only need a special permit, or you do need a variance, but
As long as they're requesting the same relief, a special permit under,
Correct.
and a variance.
Correct.
If there's something new, they have to renotice.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
if in the new design or whatever, there was a third thing you needed, then you basically have to start from scratch. You know that.
And again, it may be a whole new board, we have no idea, so there's 3 people on the board right now that are re-up, so.
Is there any other comments, though, from the board, so that when we do go back to the drawing board, we can kind of try to get things ironed out?
Well, you know how I feel, but
Yeah.
I personally feel that it's overloaded. It's tight. I think you're creating your own variance, but you're probably gonna take care of that. But it just seems like there's too many buildings there. That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
Can I ask a question, maybe of John? Why is it that we're always getting plans with 11 buildings? Is there, if you have 12, it triggers?
If you had
something?
12, you need more room.
Yeah, 12 triggers.
I'm learning. 3 years on this board, I'm
12
learning.
triggers
No, it does. Yeah, sure.
in the zoning bylaw. It triggers the, I forget what number it is.
And the property's not big enough.
And, yeah, you need a certain amount of square footage per unit for density. Setbacks are a lot bigger. The property has to be a minimum, a lot bigger. So when you get to 12, that's what happens. It triggers a lot more density.
Where's Mr. Riley tonight?
His daughter's
Oh.
recital or something.
May I ask also, projects like this, I personally like to see some sort of elevation, some idea what
Sure.
the facade looks
Yeah,
like.
that's what
Yeah.
see what the
That makes it a
building's.
lot easier.
That's fine. Yeah.
I have a better conscience when
All
I
right,
Take a look at it,
accept
yeah.
or deny something.
So we need to take a vote, correct? Are we
Yeah.
taking a vote?
So I'd like
Well,
to,
you kind of know what the building's going to look like.
Why?
I'll show him.
Yeah, well,
It's going to be similar to what
I look at so many,
was.
I'm just gonna do, petition of, where is he? There he is. Mr. Glenn LaPointe, be continued until June 14th at 7 a.m. You're first up.
7 a.m.?
PM.
And good luck.
I'll be
Take
up.
care, guys.
Do we have a motion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you. Yeah, and you guys need to sign that you're allowing the clock to pause for a moment.
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
when is the revote of the, when does the board change?
I ain't telling you nothing now.
What is that?
I ain't telling you nothing.
that
Go away, go away, go away, go away. I know you guys. Never.
The selectmen have to
Does this mean my term's finally up?
No, your term isn't up.
appoint us. And I think we're supposed to, when does it ends in June, doesn't it?
I think I was, June.
I think our period ends in June, and we, have to.
All right, self-explaining, don't tell them any more information.
Continue on.
Okay, all right.
You guys take it easy.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Good job, you're relatively early.
John, you come
I
back
know.
in.
That's a good thing.
I might be able
What's
to tell
that?
my wife, to.
There you go. John.
We have one-
Take
Thank you,
care.
guys. Thank you, John.
See, they're all smiling now. I know the board might be. So, on that note, we need to re-up soon. Nancy, you be sending out some letters to us?
Yeah.
Andrew?
I'm up.
I'm up, you're up, and so is John.
Really?
And basically.
Why not me?
Shush.
Oh, my God.
So basically, hopefully, we're all here in the next meeting, I hope. And I guess then we would have to reconstruct, redesign the board. Reorganize the board. We didn't have time, it doesn't make any sense that we do it today, and we didn't get to put it on the agenda anyway, because I have no idea what's going on, so I know I'm gonna put my name in the hat, I know Andrew is, and, and John, so that's that. So, I know I'm interested, Andrew's interested, and,
Where else do you get this many yucks?
Just
for free?
on the, Rich, I know you're talking because I mentioned to Nancy about the reorganization.
Yeah.
So there is a bylaw which
Oh, I know.
says that we have to do it by the 15th of the month or the next meeting after the election.
Yeah,
And, you know,
yeah.
I know it's a tiresome bylaw, but I imagine that everybody here that comes to us and spends 3 hours with us deciding whether to have a pool in their backyard or, you know, build their houses, also thinks the bylaws are tiresome. So in future, we should actually follow the bylaw.
Well, in the future, I think we need to have the bylaw changed because it doesn't
yeah.
make any sense for us to reorganize the board and then the next month,
You have two issues.
we have no idea who's gonna be on the board.
It doesn't, but there's not one rule for us and one rule for everybody else, and that's the
Yeah, and
bylaw.
I just think that,
Plus, there's two issues.
What's
There's
that?
The second one, and I know there's an error somewhere, 3 people should never, ever be up for election at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Well, I was,
I'm positive.
Wow, really?
It's supposed to be, it's designed so you have one voting member coming up every year.
Oh,
And then you have it doesn't make as much difference to the alternate. But what,
yeah, I can see where that bylaw would have kicked in and that would make sense, yes.
so someone is here that took over a term.
I took over a term,
Right.
but
Yeah, but
actually
yours
still the
was-
full term.
Right, but
Yeah.
that might not have been a full one, or vice versa. Mine might not, somebody's wasn't.
But Dennis, don't think we're avoiding that. I think it was a little too late to put it into
Yeah.
the agenda. And the other thing is that it's kind of crazy because, I mean, if we restructured the board tonight and it's a possibility that one of us may not be elected in. It's a possibility, so, or two. Who knows what's going to happen this town? So that's the reason why, again, when Nancy asked me about it, the agenda was already out, so
Yeah.
we basically just
And I'm
held off.
agreeing with Dennis. Part of the problem was, Dory usually informs everybody, Nancy, if I'm not mistaken, and she's on vacation this week with it. But we weren't informed, and so therefore, that becomes the problem. The key there is that everybody's gotta be on board on this at town hall. I agree 100% what you're saying, Dennis, as far as, transparency.
Thanks,
That's why we're,
thanks a lot, thank you.
you know, no, but that's,
But you can understand what I'm saying, I mean, we got this late for the agenda.
oh, no, I'm agreeing.
Well, the agenda
I
is
think-
the
It's too
I
thing.
late
think-
tonight.
The
I
agenda
think-
is the big thing, and, you know, if it's not on the agenda, it's not on the agenda.
Right,
But
so-
it is a bylaw, and we should.
I agree, and
Where's the bylaw on
it's
that?
kind of, the agenda was done,
It's in
and we
there.
weren't notified until last minute.
It's
So-
actually on for unelected.
We're all fired.
So, no, we're not all fired, we are going
But
to,
it's the same for elected.
no, you're not fired either.
But there's a section.
The next meeting, whoever's here, the next meeting, we can restructure the whole board.
Right.
Okay,
It will, yeah, it's on the.
So we need to get back to the minutes.
Yes, the minutes, definitely.
then we gotta do these.
Yes, but
Well,
we,
I don't understand why we're doing those
That-
because
that's another- that-
I need
exactly.
to ask that question. I mean, I watched the meeting and
Oh, was
you
that-
guys
was that-
can all watch the meeting. It was actually,
It's too
the
late.
planning board was actually
Televised, was it?
televised and they went through everything.
Yes, it was.
And we could talk about that in a minute. Let's talk about this again, all right? Ready, Bill?
I'm ready,
All right,
shall we?
so,
So the minutes.
yes.
So I guess here's the question, the documents in question were submitted by, was it Attorney Riley?
Yes.
Were submitted by the petitioner, we shall say, basically as supporting documents for the hearing of, was this regarding 714 Bedford Street?
Yes.
Probably, yeah,
Okay.
I would assume.
So these were ones he submitted as evidence but not read into the record. My understanding is they're included in the minutes as part of the record, but they were not documents that were submitted to the ZBA to basically deliberate on because they weren't given to us in time. Correct?
Absolutely agree,
yes.
and that's my question is.
So, do we, regarding the minutes, just to be pragmatic about it, do we just say, we approve the minutes as submitted, and we simply recognize that the petitioner submitted these documents
Some documents.
that were, but were not read into the record and were not part of the general debate
I agree.
of 714 Bedford Street.
Right, and there's another issue too that we gotta be, if they weren't given at least 10 days, is usually the standard rules that we used at this board,
Right.
then they should not be part of anything, because people that want, that have an interest in this
Okay,
meeting should have been able to get that information beforehand,
right. So,
which they weren't.
so that's, we can
You get what I'm
certainly
saying?
then
No.
say,
If I'm, can I just interrupt
Oh,
a
yeah,
second?
yeah.
Because Andrew has a question. If I come to this meeting tonight and you present something technically that isn't been pre-given to us or just in the packet or 10 days and mailed to us or something 10 days before, so that everybody that has an interest in this party, not only us, but as far as the open meeting violations, they need to be given that same information. So if we come to the meeting and you hand this out, these people out here aren't getting it, people at home aren't getting it, and this is what the intent of the open meeting law is.
But I think we just have to, pursuant to the open meeting law, they just have to have a notice of what's gonna be discussed. They don't actually need to have the material that we're gonna be discussing.
Oh, technically, yeah, you can tell them this is what we're discussing and have that, any information that's presented.
Then they could have a copy of it after the
Yeah,
fact,
they
but they're
can-
not
yeah.
necessarily
I
entitled
think,
to.
well, my problem with this is that
Mr.
things are,
Chairman, I'm sorry to
things,
disturb you. Do you mind if I actually leave? I just checked with Nancy, there is a quorum for this, so there should be enough.
you gonna leave us?
I'm gonna leave.
You had enough of us?
Well, no, but it's late. I hope you don't mind. I have something else to do to go
Okay,
to.
all right,
Is that okay?
everyone's okay with that? Everyone okay with that?
yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
The Andrew's going, I wish I was gonna.
Well, I only have
Take me
one.
with
we
you.
I
only have
promise,
one-
we're only gonna be another 10 minutes.
Clever son of a gun.
My
Yeah.
wife's down there. I have to. She's waiting for me.
Well, that's,
Smart guy, yeah, using your wife as an excuse, okay.
All right.
All right, take care.
So, yeah, I mean, to John's point, part of why we insist upon that is oftentimes we have people who do a core dump of half an
Yeah.
encyclopedia of allegedly supporting documents or opposing documents, and they expect us during, in essence, the 10 minutes we're earmarking for a hearing to digest that.
Right.
So historically, we sit there and say, I'm sorry, but if you want to do that to us, you need to give this to us by 10 days in advance. To John's point, and to what you're saying, Andy, is the abutters don't get a packet, but the abutters can come see Nancy and see the packet, right? Or pay copying charges and
Yeah,
get a packet.
public record,
But
right.
that doesn't particularly happen, but what John's stating is, you know, and I think more is the first point, is we don't want necessarily, you know, 20 pages of, you know,
At the
law
night of
book,
the meeting.
you know, law book photostats.
That's what it is, too.
And that's what the chairman is saying, is we don't want this as officially part of the meeting, of the minutes, when they weren't read in.
No, I agree they shouldn't be part of the minutes.
Yeah, I don't even
Certainly
know what that
evidence
is.
he's
I
read in
do
support
not,
of his petition.
I do not remember that.
Right, and you're.
And that could have been something that was just placed on the desk and Nancy
You're right, when
retrieved
you-
it. It's not your fault,
well,
but
that's the
it's all
first,
there. I mean, that shouldn't,
This looked like
When I
something
first-
else in a previous case, when I said I thought I saw it before. It was a previous case about that one we were trying to track ownership of the lot or something like that. So I would make a motion simply to vote on the minutes of the meeting and to strike the documents submitted.
well.
that's exactly where I come from, and
Do you think that's a good idea? Because were documents that we did see in this. and
well, if they're
you-
presented technically, when something is presented at the meeting like that, and they haven't presented to us 10 days before, and we come into a meeting,
Yeah,
we're supposed to have that beforehand, otherwise you can delay it to another meeting and it's not on the clock.
Because, I mean, I'm not saying there aren't things in here that we didn't see. I mean,
Okay.
we did see this.
But I agree.
We did see that.
I think I have,
Go ahead.
But these aren't, but, I mean,
I'm
these
worried
aren't,
about
these
later
aren't
on.
typically minutes. I mean, this
Right.
not,
But they're attached to our minutes.
right.
well, we could, yeah, just extract, I
And
mean,
so-
it doesn't matter if we're saying, if you saw them before, that's fine. If they're part of the, his
And-
evidence that he submitted, that's fine. They exist, I mean, they can exist as part of the case file, but,
And historically,
part
we
of
But
have
they
not
shouldn't
gotten
be
these.
there.
no, that's what I
I've never-
mean. So
yeah.
just extract them from the minutes, retain them in the case file, and
So do
move
we
on.
want, would we like to?
Nancy,
um,
can I just ask Nancy,
Please.
historically, we have not gotten this kind of information. So this really threw me for a loop when I saw it. I'm going, why are we getting this when we never have, so we're setting a precedence now. And is it because, what was the thought process? Or are we gonna be doing this all the time? Because we gotta be consistent.
I mean, I don't know where these came from, that and the actual law for this.
Yeah, okay.
It's case law.
Okay.
Anyways,
So I
mean,
see
it could have
one-
been just
one
dropped
thing
on you
where-
right over there, I mean.
it's healthy.
You know, on paragraph 5 here, it says, Mr. Riley doesn't think think 48, section 16 applies, submitted Rainey v. Board of Appeals, Nantucket. So that's why Nancy attached Rainey v. Board of Appeals.
Yeah.
But we haven't done that in the past, is my whole thing.
So I
Right.
can pull it out.
So I guess I would suggest maybe we,
I think the memo in support of, he read that whole thing.
Yes.
I wasn't gonna
Yes.
type it.
Yeah, there was,
sure.
yeah. I can
read that whole thing.
check off, I can
That
check
is-
off
that's
everything
fine.
that
Okay,
he,
and he, yeah,
I mean,
he
he
referred-
definitely did
yeah.
this.
yeah,
He definitely did this.
yeah,
He definitely
And
did
that.
this.
yeah,
and this.
yeah, okay. and I'll
But
just
now you
pull
get,
the
I don't
other
know,
stuff
I don't
out.
know where this
Just-
stuff is.
Okay, just cross it out and
I
I'll
mean,
pull that off.
I'll just
and
put question
I'll-
marks on
yeah,
it,
okay.
question mark.
So do we want
And the case law, I mean.
postpone
I'll
did-
revise it
for another
and we
month?
can just do it
And
next
have
week,
her-
at next
Next
meeting.
I think that's a
Well,
good point,
whoever's here.
and that's what I would you, Andrew?
I wasn't here, so I'm not gonna be able to tell you
Okay.
what, you know what I mean?
You're-
What do you think about the case law?
No, what he's
Well,
saying is
yeah,
let's
just
postpone.
Yeah, I'd say let's postpone the minutes,
Okay.
Yeah,
and then
I'll pull it.
Okay.
the documents,
And redo it.
as
Yeah.
Andy says, the documents should certainly go in the case file, because he submitted them, but they're
If he-
not really part of the
Just-
minutes,
yeah.
because.
Whatever he submitted, yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
but he didn't give us time to read them, so
Right.
it's, I mean, that should be
Okay.
noted. I mean, again, especially the back thesis, here, I'll call it again, the back.
Yeah.
I never read
Yeah.
that, I didn't read that. It's dated 4/2/18. I mean.
But, I mean, for the purposes of an appeal, this is just his interpretation of what he believes the law is.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't matter, he's gonna make those arguments anyways, it's not
Right,
like
but
this
it's
is
not
gonna.
But it's a-
consistent.
No,
It's attached to our.
I know, and I see that point, but I mean, if the worst case scenario is if these are included, it's not like this is gonna have any bearing, the appeal's gonna be the appeal, and it's gonna,
Yeah, but it's
You
gonna
know.
make it, she's gonna have to do this every meeting from going forward.
I mean,
That's
people
what
are
I'm
gonna
getting
start
at.
throwing things
And
on
she's
the
under a lot
desk,
of,
but then we don't even get to see.
Yeah,
I mean, you're gonna have more stuff.
And, you know, we as a board
Unless
need to
it's
be
red,
more,
it's not included.
I
Cognizant
agree. I
of
mean,
that.
I don't wanna read
I'm gonna
that.
give you an example.
I don't even know what
get a
this
lot
is.
now, but the assistant, now the building inspector, he's telling me, he was the head of the planning board, and they're required, whenever you submitted something, it had to be in advance. Because if you didn't, then everybody else is not getting that information on a timely basis. And how can you, and you can't change the plans. We've been told you can't change them unless you get that before the meeting, so you can look at it. If you go that night, and then you go, what is this? And you're trying to run and you're gonna miss something, or there's a potential to missing something when you look at them at the last minute. So that's another thing in the future. You don't have to look at me like that.
Oh, no.
I wasn't
Okay,
trying
so
to
what do we agree on here?
so let's postpone the minutes until next,
Readjust them.
yeah, until they're because there was a,
Well,
there is
this is
a
a
problem.
little,
In the same format that we've used in the past.
Yeah.
Things that weren't,
If it wasn't read into.
Right.
things that weren't publicly read into the record or publicly specifically notated, I don't think should be part of the minutes.
I
you know?
agree, I mean,
Okay.
it just,
Can I just?
oh,
have
yes,
it?
you can have that, yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay,
All right, so,
second that.
Anything else?
Aye.
Well, we have the
we
two
gotta-
things here technically, got the sign.
Well, yeah, wait a minute, hold on, we had a vote on that, so, let's, go
I'll
ahead.
make a motion to postpone the minutes of of April 12th until next month.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we can move on to,
Now, just so you know, I went to that meeting the other night for the planning board. I got there at 6 o'clock when the meeting started. I left at 8:20, and they were just starting to discuss marijuana. So by the time, it was much later, so I said I could see this going on forever. So I left.
Did they end yet?
11:30?
Has it ended yet?
Huh?
Did it end yet?
I'm serious, and the problem is here, again, these have already been discussed, so it's almost pointless for us to discuss anything
Yeah.
because it's already in front of them, it's gone by them, and there's some changes in there I don't agree with, but
Yeah.
it's too late.
And I think the warrant's already been.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
not yet, it's,
That's what
they're
these
work-
were.
Yeah,
And they're
okay.
gonna be meeting with the selectmen on the final warrant. I think it's this coming meeting, the
Okay.
14th. While I was idle from that last meeting, I went down there, reread everything down there. I noticed that one.
And
So,
unfortunately, the change, the planning board taking over the authority for special permits, like the property that we.
for everything but one and two family.
Yeah, so basically, it's gonna be on the warrant, that they're gonna try to take the authority away from us for special
Which,
permits.
and by the way, to throw my opinion in here, my understanding is, we're going through a new master plan, which hasn't been done in many years, and by that update, and town council even has mentioned that our zoning laws are all over the place. So my whole thought about this, if we go to town meeting, is put these on hold or for a year or until master plan, because, or they're also thinking of hiring a firm or a college to come in and rewrite the rules. And you probably heard that too.
Yeah,
So then why are we going through such
drastic.
enormous changes? And it seems like every year it gets more and more. We're almost rewriting them, it appears to me, the whole thing are, so anyway, to me, that town meeting is gonna be a disaster, in my opinion.
Well, it's just gonna be long, I would say that. It's
That's
gonna
what
be
I
long.
meant.
Aren't we going to be having our bylaws reviewed perhaps by a college?
That's what I
Yes,
just
that's
said.
what they're saying, yeah.
Or a firm, and,
Yeah, but one's 10 times as much.
10,500 if I got the numbers right for the college, and it's 110 for a firm to come in and do them. And there's like 3 companies that go around doing them. So, but again.
I know where I vote.
And I know Milton, I just read in today, just went through theirs. And they made the master plan, and they barreled ahead.
The
Somebody.
problem is though, they get, they're in this town, things get changed by the year, so it's odd, or by,
So-
refusals.
Again, my motion be to just.
Just table it.
Table.
Yeah,
Table indefinitely, because we're.
we're behind the boat, behind the 8 ball.
I'll
And
second.
It's
again,
already
we
done.
didn't get them in the past to thoroughly discuss them anyway. By
Right.
the way, the sign thing is going to be separate, and I can't tell you, I think there's like 20 some odd meetings we've already had.
Is that why that's so small? Because it's gonna be separate?
Yes,
Okay.
the sign thing should go through completely. Then that's been vetted through the selectmen, vetted through the planning, and there was changes, some made and that, and they're gonna have our final meeting on Wednesday. It
Oh, well, I
should be.
appreciate all the work you did on
I
that.
can't tell you, I'd never do that again.
I appreciate it.
I
I
can't-
think the board appreciates it. so.
Absolutely,
But-
absolutely.
The changes
I knew it was gonna
are
be painful.
pretty, and it's very fair because you get the businesses involved. Bob Wing represented them, and so it should be fair to everybody, and they're starting fresh, so it's good going forward.
We'll see how it goes. All right,
Yeah.
so, what do you think, guys?
So we did the official motion on tabling the amendments
Yeah,
discussion.
might as
With the
well.
exception of the sign.
Right. So I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second. All, aye.
Aye.
I think we did all right.